Hey there, and welcome back if you've already been watching videos on our channel. If not, then just welcome. Today we're going to talk a little bit about blending modes and the vanity retouching specifically on the eyes. All right, so blending modes are not always used for just the composite, or creative imagery. It's also used to enhance or improve photos such as headshots by brightening the eyes, adding contrast to eyes, or sharpening the eyes. So a little bit of kind of vanity retouching, if you will. So we're going to work on a photo of my niece that was taken her senior year a few years ago. And if you were in our live workshop, you might already have this file, and we've already done some other vanity retouching to remove blemishes and enhance a little bit of the contrast or texture of the photo using the clone stamp, healing brush, and all of those. So now we're going to use blending modes to further improve or enhance certain aspects of the photo. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom in, and we're going to zoom in on the eyes since we're enhancing the eyes. And you can either do this by using your zoom tool, or you can do a Control plus on your keyboard as the shortcut. And then what we're going to do is select the quick mask, or it's not quick select, it's quick mask, and it's the little icon over there in the left below your color, or you can hit Q on the keyboard. That's probably quicker and a little bit better. And then you're going to change your color to black and start painting in around, or painting in the eye color. And we're going to go ahead and paint over the pupil, and that way we can get the whole eye. And then you can switch your color to white using X on your keyboard as a shortcut, and then paint over the pupil to remove the quick mask overlay. Okay, and because the iris, or the color part of the eye, is so close to the eyelashes as well as the pupil part of the eye, we're just going to color the colored, or the iris part of the eye, because it just seems easier on this particular eye. All right, and that actually looks pretty good. So our next steps are, we're going to exit the quick mask, and then we're going to invert our selection. And we're going to invert the selection because we chose the black color to paint in with the mask overlay versus the white. Okay, so exit the quick mask by hitting Q on your keyboard, and then we're going to inverse the selection by going up to select and down to inverse. And then next we're going to copy our selection onto another layer. And because it's already selected, we can just hit Control J on the keyboard as the shortcut, and it's going to copy our selection onto a layer. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to rename our layer. And because we're brightening the eyes up a little bit, we're going to rename this layer to Brighten. And you can rename it to Brighten Eyes, or whatever makes sense for you. But for us and for this purposes, we're going to say Brighten Eyes. And then that way we know it's the eyes layer. Duh. Okay, and then next, we're going to go down to our blending mode, and we're going to choose Screen. And holy smokes, did that brighten her eyes up. That's almost kind of creepy looking, actually. Um, so we don't want to go that much. So we're going to take the opacity down a little bit on that blending mode or that layer, and I'm going to toggle back and forth so you can kind of see before and after. And now we're going to reduce the opacity, and whew, that is so much better. All right, that's a little less creepy looking. Okay, so let's zoom in again so we can kind of see a little bit better what that screen blending mode did to her eyes. Okay, and another reason why we're zooming in so far here too is because when you do this, you actually have to make sure that your color of your eyes is not going to be affected. When you do the screen mode, some colors, while they're made brighter or lighter, if you will, the color may also change, and you don't want that to happen, especially on a headshot. And some people are very picky about that. They don't want to be misrepresented or anything like that. So just be careful when you're doing this method that you're not going to change the color of the person's eyes unless that's intentional. Okay, so let's take this one step further. Let's improve the contrast of her eyes as well and bring out that color and detail just a little bit more. So because we've already made this selection, we don't need to do it again. And we want everything to align, because if it doesn't, then it's just going to look weird. So what we're going to do is duplicate that layer and then change that layer name to eye contrast. That way we know which layer is doing what as far as the blending modes. And then we're going to change the blending mode for that layer to soft light, because for in this instance, that's probably the better choice of the contrast group to choose. Okay, so I'm going to hit Alt and then click on the visibility eye on the layer, and I'm going to toggle through so we can see the before and after, so we can see the effect each blending mode is having. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom out. And zoomed out, the change that we made is very subtle, but it's there, and it does look a lot better because it looks like the light is actually in her eyes versus her eyes just being so dark and flat. It gives her a little bit more of an engaged look about her, and it just looks, well, it just looks a little bit more natural. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and work on the teeth and the eyes, and we're going to take away that yellow tint. So what we did was we entered the quick mask mode, and you can either click on the icon that's below the paintbrush colors on the left-hand side, or you can hit Q on your keyboard and then just paint over the teeth. All right, last one, and then we'll exit the quick mask mode, invert our selection, and then go ahead and add an adjustment layer. And we're going to do specifically the yellows, and we're just going to take the saturation down on the yellows. And because we made the selection with the quick mask mode before we made the layer or the mask is already only affecting the teeth. All right, so we've zoomed out to take a look at that, and that looks pretty good. So let's zoom back in, and we're going to go ahead and adjust the whites of the eyes. And we're going to do this by doing the same concept where we're going to use the quick mask. Oops, accidentally painted. Wasn't in the quick mask. My bad. Okay, now I'm in the quick mask, and we're just going to paint over the whites of the eyes. And I'm not going for perfection here at the moment. If this was a true restoration or a true paid headshot, I'd be a little bit more precise, but this is going to do for, our purposes. Okay, so exit the quick mask, invert the selection, and then we're going to do another adjustment layer. And we're going to do hue and saturation. Yep, hue and saturation. That's what I want to do. And we're going to bring down the saturation. And in general, we're going to stay on the master channel. And then we're also going to lighten the eyes up a little bit, or lighten the color up a little bit. And that looks better. Okay, so let's do the Alt trick and click on the visibility icon, and we can see the before for the original and the after. And while the change is subtle, it's noticeable, and you can see that just by lightening the teeth and taking out the yellow part and just lightening the eyes, just the whites of the eyes, just ever so much, how much more engaging and interesting this photo looks. Whew, okay, looking good. There's just one more technique that I want to go over, and it's the eye sharpening technique. That is the final technique in this video that we are going to do to enhance the eyes and just make the portrait photo or help you make your portrait photography just that much more engaging. So bear with me just a couple more minutes and we'll finish this up. Okay, so the eye sharpening technique that I'm going to show you is it can be a little clunky and you kind of want to be careful with it because you can overdo it. But it is a great addition to your tool arsenal for enhancing the eyes. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. And then we're going to select our retouch layer, not the background layer. And then we're going to go up here to our tools and we're going to select our rectangular tool and just draw a big old rectangle around both eyes, not both eyes individually, but just both eyes. And then we're going to copy that into a new layer, which in this case, we can just hit Control J on our keyboard as a shortcut. And because we have the selection made, it's going to duplicate the layer, but it's only going to duplicate the selection that we made. And then we're going to rename this layer as Eye Sharpening or Eye Sharpen so that we can keep track of what is what. All right, and then once you've got that layer duplicated, we are going to go up to our menu and we're going to go Filter and down to Other at the bottom of the menu. And then we're going to choose High Pass. But when you get a minute, it might not be a bad idea for you to explore this menu because there is a huge, tremendous amount of creativity here in this filter category. But for right now, we are just going to use this high pass function as a sharpening function to enhance our eyes and increase, and it in the sharpening process, it might even bring out the contrast just a little bit. Okay, and once you've chosen high pass, we're going to get a dialog box come up and your little area is going to turn blue. And this dialog box, what you want, the goal is to decrease the color that you're seeing in the eyes as much as possible. And you can do that by using this slider. And we're going to decrease and decrease. And actually, we should be losing the color of the eyes. Something's not right. Oh, actually, so my layers were not in the correct order, so I need to bring up that duplicate layer all the way up to the top so it's on top of all of the other eye adjustments that we've made. So let's go back and we're going to get the high pass. Make sure our preview box is checked so we can see what's happening. Okay, and that's much better. So now you can see the difference here is the color in the iris was not disappearing as it should have as we were going along. So I think that looks pretty good. And when you're satisfied with this, you can hit OK. It might look a little different on your end. It shouldn't be much, but it might. Just go ahead and hit OK. And then we're going to go up here to Image in the menu bar. And then we're going to do an adjustment layer. And this adjustment layer is a destructive adjustment layer, not like the ones over from the layer panel. But because this is on its own layer, we're not doing the original image, it's okay. Okay, and then choose the desaturate option, and that's going to desaturate all of the color just that much more on this layer. And you have a gray box there. Don't panic, that's supposed to be there. And now we're going to change our blending mode from normal to soft light. And remember, that's a contrast blending mode. So that's going to pop the contrast just that much more in addition to the sharpening. And let's toggle through because that change that we just made is subtle, but there. And it looks so much better. Oh my gosh, those eyes are so much better than what we started with. It's impressive, isn't it? All right, so there's a couple more techniques that we would like to show you for vanity retouching on photos. However, because this is already an almost 15-minute video, which thanks, by the way, for sticking with me on it, we are going to put those in a separate video. So review, take your time, work on these concepts, and then come back and join us for some more editing and learning fun.